So apparently the Fever just leaked their starting five. According to this graphic right here,
the Indiana Fever might have just shaken up the entire WNBA. A leaked look at their starting five has fans and analysts talking. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard, and Aaliyah Boston. Yes, that's the likely starting lineup, and it's loaded. We're talking 5 All-Stars, the last 2 Rookies of the Year, and 3 players on max contracts, all hitting the floor together, and that's just the beginning. Stick around, because we're breaking down all the possible lineups the Fever could roll out this season, and why the rest of the league needs to pay attention. This team doesn't just have 5 stars, they've got 9 players who could realistically start, depending on the matchup. Later, head coach Stephanie White gives us a preview of the offensive game plan she'll use to bring all this talent together.
And yeah, this is apparently what it's going to be. Caitlin Clark at the 1, Kelsey Mitchell at the 2, DeWanna Bonner at the 3, Natasha Howard at the 4, and Aaliyah Boston at the 5. Obviously.
So, what does this powerhouse lineup mean for the rest of the WNBA? And how will the team chemistry play out when you've got this much talent sharing one locker room? Surprisingly, the biggest story might be Sophie Cunningham's reaction to her new role. Her response says a lot, and could be a sign that this team has finally figured out what it takes to build a championship contender. But before we get into that, let's take a closer look at what makes this starting 5 so special.
Because in order for the Fever to achieve the goals that they have in front of them, everyone is going to need to buy into their role, and it's up to Stephanie White to put the best lineups out there, the best lineup combinations, and all of that. I took a stab at projecting what the starting 5 will be, and it's, not a huge leap, but obviously Caitlin Clark's going to be the point guard.
It all begins with Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation talent. Her court vision and deep shooting range are already changing the way the game is played. She spots passing opportunities before they even exist. And as many say, you've got to guard her the second she walks into the building.
Listen, you talk about players that change the game when they're on the court, whether they're touching the ball or not. You have to guard her when she steps into the gym. And so I don't think we've seen anything like that in women's basketball. I've played against a number of great shooters.
Yes.
Somebody that when they walk in the gym, you have to guard them. And I think the way the game is played has allowed her to showcase that skill, to be able to take that shot. That shot's being a good shot. It speaks to where basketball is right now.
Right beside her is Kelsey Mitchell, one of the league's most explosive scorers. She averaged over 19 points per game last season and can create her own shot against just about any defender.
Kelsey Mitchell, the shooting guard, the most potent backcourt in the WNBA. I think DeWanna Bonner will be the Swiss Army knife kind of player at the 3.
Then there's DeWanna Bonner, bringing championship experience and serious length at 6 feet 4 inches. She's a matchup nightmare on both ends of the floor. Add in Natasha Howard, a defensive anchor who excels in transition and runs the pick and roll like a pro, and holding it down in the paint is the 2023 Rookie of the Year, Aaliyah Boston. With her strength, footwork, and basketball IQ, she's a handful for any defender.
Natasha Howard fills that hole that they had at power forward, especially they were lacking somebody who could run the floor, catch and finish. Aaliyah Boston is the center who doesn't hunt for shots, but can be a key cog on both ends.
This lineup runs like a well-oiled machine. Each player brings something that makes the others better. The spacing alone will give defenses headaches. Double-team Clark, and Mitchell will burn you. Focus too much on the perimeter, and Boston will dominate inside. Collapse the paint, and now you've got Clark, Mitchell, Howard, and Bonner, all capable of hitting from deep. With this mix of scoring, playmaking, and defense, it's going to be nearly impossible for teams to guard them one-on-one.
It was already tougher to load up on Kelsey Mitchell last year because Caitlin Clark was there. And when Kelsey's able to get out in transition, she's so fast. And when she's able to take you one-on-one, there ain't much you can do.
And don't sleep on the growing connection between Clark and Boston. These two have the potential to become one of the most dangerous young duos in the WNBA. Boston's solid screens and rim runs paired with Clark's laser-sharp passing? That's a highlight reel in the making. Their chemistry is only going to get better, and they already have the tools to be one of the best pairings we've seen in years. Don't just take my word for it. Head coach Stephanie White is already calling them a future all-time duo.
When you think about the great point guards and post players that our game, not just our league, but our game has seen, they are going to go down in history as the greatest. And I'm excited about the opportunity to work with them. I'm excited about the opportunity that we have to build from those starting points and build out, and for the longevity that those two could have in Indiana, in Indianapolis, and hanging banners in this building.
Together, this starting five combined for over 80 points per game last season. And with Clark running the offense, don't be surprised if everyone's efficiency takes a leap. Teams like the Las Vegas Aces and New York Liberty should be paying close attention. The Aces' smaller lineup could struggle to defend the paint, while the Liberty's defense will be tested trying to keep up with all five scoring threats. This isn't a someday team anymore. The Fever are built to win now.
Be Cunningham, the first player off the bench to provide lineup versatility and shooting. Either way, there are a lot of options.
But don't overlook what could be Indiana's biggest X factors, Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull. Sophie's reaction to coming off the bench? Total class. No ego, no complaints, just pure excitement to support Clark and help the team however she can. That kind of attitude isn't just rare in pro sports, it's almost unheard of.
So I saw Sophie Cunningham talk about how she is thrilled to join a supporting role next to Caitlin Clark and that she's playing on a stacked Fever squad.
Think about it. How many times have we seen veterans push back against taking a bench role? Allen Iverson turned down a role with Memphis and walked away from the game. Carmelo Anthony had a public clash with the Rockets when his role didn't meet his expectations. But Cunningham's total buy-in? That could be the cultural glue this team needs. Her willingness to sacrifice might just end up being the key to their success.
It's Sophie Cunningham, who I mentioned before, who I do think will be the first player off the bench because of all of the things she can bring to the team, where they can go small with her and spread the floor. I mean, you can go real small. You could play Howard at center and Cunningham at the 4, something like that. Really space the floor out and give teams a different look. She can play a traditional spot on the wing, of course. And she has a little bit more, I think they're listed at the same height, but she has a little bit more length and size, I believe, than Lexi Hull. And that's, another shooter out on the floor.
Championship teams are built on more than just talent. They thrive on players who fully embrace their roles. That's exactly what makes Sophie Cunningham so valuable to the Indiana Fever. Her unselfish attitude is a sign of a major cultural shift in Indiana, where team success takes priority over individual stats. This is the kind of mindset that head coach Stephanie White needs to turn this star-studded roster into a true title contender. Cunningham's ability to guard multiple positions, shoot from deep, and bring non-stop energy off the bench gives Indiana a unique edge that most teams don't have. As the projected sixth woman, she's got the skills to start on other teams, but instead of chasing the spotlight, she's laser-focused on what will help the Fever win. That kind of self-awareness and maturity is rare, and it's exactly what any championship contending team needs.
And then there's Lexi Hull, who was relied upon a little bit too much a season ago. Lexi's a little undersized to guard some of the players that she had to guard and would get in foul trouble. And when she got in foul trouble, it was really debilitating for the team. Now I think she can bring that energy all the time and not have to worry about the foul trouble because of the lineup versatility that they have. For Lexi, the key is, can she continue to hit at the clip from 3 that she did the second half of last season? And she's got to get better at finishing around the cup. I mean, that's an area of improvement.
Lexi Hull adds even more depth to the bench. She's a tough defender who brings full court pressure and never takes a play off. Need someone to shut down an opponent's top scorer? Hull's your go-to. Need floor spacing? She quietly led the entire WNBA in three-point shooting percentage last season. Whether it's knocking down a key corner 3 or diving for a loose ball, Hull's contributions might not always make the highlight reel, but they're absolutely vital.
I think we've seen a lot of Brianna Turner working out with the team. I think her ability to set screens, hopefully catch and finish, could give her some minutes, because Aaliyah Boston really the only kind of what you would consider a center on the squad at this moment.
Then there's Brianna Turner, the unsung hero in Indiana's interior game. She might not be the one putting up big numbers on the scoreboard, but her ability to set tough screens and finish in traffic makes her the perfect complement to playmakers like Caitlin Clark. With all the attention on perimeter shooters, Turner takes advantage of the space Clark creates and becomes a key finisher in the paint. Meanwhile, Hull and Turner form a defensive duo that keeps Indiana's energy up when the starters are resting. Hull's hustle keeps the tempo high, while Turner protects the rim and grabs rebounds. They're the glue players every successful team needs, doing the dirty work, staying locked in, and ensuring there's no drop-off in intensity when the bench comes in.
Colson maybe plays a little bit more than we figured, because Clark will get spelled a bit more often this season, I would imagine. I also could see some Clark-Colson 2-guard lineups out there at times to let Clark play off the ball a little bit more to let Coulson apply defensive pressure.
Let's not forget about Sydney Coulson either. With Caitlin Clark set for a demanding sophomore season, Coulson's presence provides the Fever with a calming, experienced voice to keep things steady. Her leadership ensures the offense doesn't skip a beat when Clark needs a rest. Coulson knows how to manage the clock, direct traffic, and keep everyone involved. What truly sets this Indiana Fever team apart, though, is how their bench mirrors the starters. The playing style remains the same, the pressure never lets up, and opponents don't get a break. That kind of relentless intensity is rare in the WNBA, and it's what turns close games into blowout wins by the fourth quarter.
You'll see Clark in motion more this year to free her up for cleaner looks. Clark's three-point percentage was not probably where it needed to be. I think one way to get that up is to get her cleaner looks off the ball at times, though she should still have the ball the lion's share of the time. What they really did do is add those rim runners around her.
Now, let's dive into something truly revolutionary, how the Fever plan to use Caitlin Clark this season. Forget everything you know about traditional point guard roles in the WNBA. Indiana isn't sticking to the usual setup where the floor general stands at the top of the key, calling out plays. Instead, they're borrowing a page from Golden State's playbook, using Clark in constant motion, much like how they run things with Steph Curry. So, what did Stephanie White have to say about how she plans to manage the offense?
So I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free. We want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets that give us certain spacing that we want, depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to. How can we manipulate them? So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate. And then whichever play we make, whichever pass we make determines, one of three actions that our players can read from. And so really giving them the freedom, to play within a system.
Now, picture this within a system. Instead of slowing things down, Clark passes the ball, then immediately cuts around screens, makes backdoor cuts, and relocates to unpredictable spots. It's organized chaos. Defenders are left spinning, trying to keep up with a shooter who can pull up from 30 feet without hesitation. We're talking full court cardio just to stay in front of her.
And then, of course, when you have more weapons, a lot of people are worried. I don't think they have players who need the ball to score, but they have more players who can score, which is going to make it tougher to load up. It was already tougher to load up on Kelsey Mitchell last year because Caitlin Clark was there. And when Kelsey's able to get out in transition, she's so fast. And when she's able to take you one-on-one, there ain't much you can do. And then Clark, the same thing. What are you going to do now? You're going to have to pick your poison because you're going to send the whole defense at her again. Well, she's going to pick you apart. They have 5 players who were in the top 30 in scoring last year.
It's not just clever, it's downright devastating. WNBA defenses are designed to handle standard playmakers, not this kind of dynamic, free-flowing movement. And with teammates like Natasha Howard and DeWanna Borner, who thrive in transition and cutting to the rim, the system becomes nearly impossible to stop. Defenders can't afford to leave Clark open, but if they stay glued to her, they're giving up easy looks inside.
What the Fever really needed last year, they got killed on the boards at times. They got killed defensively at times. They lacked a little bit of toughness and oomph. And I think, collectively, the new players fill that mold. I mean, they got players that have been around the block. Sophie is tough and tenacious. That DeWanna Bonner has been in every situation imaginable, right? So all of that is huge. Same with Howard. That experience, that's something Sydney Coulson talked about, who also has the experience. Everybody that's coming in is having the experience, and it's not often you see such a drastic overhaul.
And it gets even trickier. When Clark moves through the paint, Howard and Borner time their cuts to perfection. If defenders switch or hedge, they're immediately punished. And don't forget Hull and Cunningham, 2 lethal shooters who space the floor and make any help defense pay if they dare to sag.
This year, I basically said there were 4 reliable players in Clark, Mitchell, Boston, and Hull. Everybody around that has been reconfigured, and the coach. And, the coach has familiarity with Bonner. She also has familiarity with how to guard Caitlin Clark.
Together, the Indiana Fever's offensive system isn't just effective, it's downright terrifying. This isn't your typical lineup. It's 5 legitimate scoring threats, all moving in sync, constantly switching spots, and taking advantage of every defensive mistake. What used to be simple pick and rolls now turn into unpredictable plays with multiple scoring options. Basic dribble handoffs evolve into sudden backdoor cuts and surprise drives. Every element of this offense is designed for versatility and chaos, and defenses won't know what hit them.